This is Leadership Beyond, your community of conversation.
But this is the first time in my professional career that everybody, 100% of us, are consciously aware we are engaged in a change initiative.
Yeah, everything. I mean, COVID caused us all to go through change, right? At the same time, but our experiences were so different.
Facing these unprecedented times in isolation is pure insanity. A Leadership Beyond decided sometime in the fall to undertake a research project using a tool which is the world's only client-specific activity-driven metrics, not a psychometric tool, on the marketplace. And we thought this would be helpful in understanding the tension leaders are experiencing in the runway as they react to all of the changes in business. And so we thought about it, and it got put on the back burner several times. And Adrian's going to tell you where it is now and where we're going with it.
So we created a strategic networking guide at the beginning of this year to help our community create some plans around getting back out there and networking, but networking smart. So we're not wasting time making connections that maybe don't matter or don't serve your higher purpose. And we had this thought of, hey, we've got this research project and we know we need to solicit people to participate in it. We know that we want those people to be people we know, not just a blanket solicitation of a particular profile. And so we decided to eat our own dog food and take ourselves through our own strategic networking guide. We thought we'd hit record so that you can have an example of how to use this guide for yourselves. And it proved successful. I think we had fun doing it. And personally, I'm so jazzed that we completed it and it validated how helpful the guide really is. And we came out of it with a plan.
I totally agree. And so our ask for you is, one, listen to the recording and then do your own networking strategy for what's important to you. And to download the network strategy guide, go to aleadershipbeyond.com, subscribe to our mailing list, or drop us a note requesting it. That would be fine. If you want to participate in the leadership survey or even know more about the leadership research project, drop us a note. We'd love to have you in the conversation.
Okay, so are we just starting from here? We're going to jump right in?
Yes.
Okay. So first question, we don't have to tackle all of these, right? We can decide, pass, what have you. What are we counting on to win as it pertains to networking with respect to our research project?
And I think I would define a win as finding a group of people in the target market for our research that see it in their benefit to think about these things and to help to give us data so that we can help leaders respond to them. So a win would be finding people willing to engage for their own reasons.
Okay. So we'll need to define what those possible reasons might be for them as we're looking for those people, right? That's part of our outreach.
So the question should always be, why would they even participate in a 15, 20-minute research project?
Give them the why.
What's in it for them?
Cool.
And I think it's clear why we're desiring it.
Yep. Let's move on.
What value do you bring to these connections?
So that's the value that we're bringing
to them.
Those who would participate in our research project, right? And I think, the first thing that comes to my mind is that we bring some objectivity, where we are objectivity and a lens for them to look through to find out more about themselves.
Yeah, they get a chance to step back from the day-to-day pressure and think about some of these things. And the other thing they get is they get to see the research, to hear from their peers who they don't even know, to see, all of us have said, am I crazy feeling this way? Well, they'll get some validation. Yeah, you may be crazy, and 1,000 others are feeling similarly. So they get some clarity out of it, and they get to be a part of something bigger than their day-to-day struggle.
I like that. And by the way, I'm taking notes so that nobody can see that, but I'm taking notes, so we'll have those
That's
later.
helpful.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Do you put their needs ahead or at least on par with your own? Part of me thinks this is a research project, so we're putting their needs actually ahead, right?
I agree. You know, I hesitate too, but the whole raison d'etre behind this research is so that we can better support leaders. And
Yeah.
so I think that their needs are ahead, but we have to recognize the tension between the short term and the long term. In the big picture, we're putting their needs ahead, but in the short term, we've got to be honest that we're feeling like we really need your help with this.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be reminded that it is for them and with them, which we believe in our heart. But there is a time, oh, we've got to get 20 people to participate in the next 30 days. It feels like we're the needy ones. So we just have to be square on what that is and remember this is for the good of the leadership community.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Good. What are the core benefits for this new and improved networking? Core benefits to us,
Both.
core benefits to them.
Both. So the core benefit, let's start with us. What are the core benefits to a leadership beyond if we get really good at networking with executives and high-level managers?
Well, I think we get to know our network, which, that's the benefit is getting to know our network so that we can bring more of what they need to the community.
So the benefit to us is we become known as people in this leadership space that can add value.
Yeah.
We also become connected to individuals as well as a community who have struggles and trust us to at least hear about what those are and to make recommendations proportionate to the amount of trust we've built over time. So the benefits to us is our expansion in the leadership community. The benefits to them is a resource that they have to address their specific issues, challenges. They all suffer terminal uniqueness.
Right.
And so it can address their specific concerns and issues, but it also connects them to a broader community of leaders struggling with similar.
Yeah.
Or to quote Adrian Guerrero, they're all experiencing the same thing, only differently.
Cool. What other questions came to mind as you completed this?
What came to mind for me is the need to create an avatar for all of these very individual and diverse leaders so that we get our communication in sync. That's more tactical, but
more of a profile, are you thinking? Like we have to kind of hone in and kind of profile?
Yeah, before we say Schmedley, let's get an idea of who this is we're trying to reach, and psychodemographic as well as demographic. And that's the strategic part. The tactical part is Schmedley, Jones, Smith.
Yeah, good. Well, that was quick. I think we got a lot of value out of that just in those handful of questions.
Yeah, my last comment was really transitioning here.
Yeah.
Who is a person you would like to meet? And what comes up for me here is to start small and identify a few to test what is their response. Can we get their attention? How can we get their attention? And I'll leave this second question to you. How do they benefit from knowing you?
How do they benefit from knowing us? Well, I think this is similar to one of the previous questions, where they're benefiting from participating in this research, right? Or from knowing us by having a connection into tools that will help them as leaders to further support beyond the tools that we provide in our community. But by us knowing each other, we're able to perhaps provide coaching when the need comes up, or consulting over a change initiative, like expanded things that we may not uncover were we not connected in the community.
I think that's clear and well said. And what comes up for me as I see that question is the partnership I have with you. If on the first time we had a conversation, there is no way I could have even come close to seeing all the blessings that would come to being connected to you. And what I sometimes forget in networking, some will, some won't, next please, which means out of the 100, there may be 1 or 2 that become great customers, good friends, solid networking people, but we don't know who that is. So what we do know is that they will get a return on the amount of attention they give it, and it will be multiplied. So if they give it 5 minutes, they can't expect a lifelong return, and that's okay. We don't need to sort all that out, but we are coming from benefiting those who raise their hand. So the first ask is very small: participate in the research, and then we let it sort itself out. And when you deal with human beings, you can't even know what the value of one connection could be. It's almost infinite, but you can't control how that all fleshes out. So you have to begin with faith and just say, these are people that can help us with a research project, and we want to make sure we give more than we get, but we don't know what all that is until we know who they are and what they care about.
And I think what's powerful there is that the timing could be not now, right? Like we're connecting with people, but it could be a year, 2 years, where as long as we stay connected and a need comes up, like, oh wait, Tom could help me with that, or Adrian could help me with that, or maybe somebody else in that Leadership Beyond community could help, right? But if we don't stay connected, you kind of lose touch.
So please put in our notes that we have a specific ask: would you participate in this research project? And a legitimate answer is no, thank you. And there's levels of that, go away, which we will. We won't bug anybody. But another one is, please keep in touch. So out of this networking strategy will come a keep in touch strategy. And let's be sure that we develop that, because our focus is going to be on getting the number we need for the research to be valid. And that's a legitimate concern on us. But we want to remind ourselves to think beyond this particular initiative. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, what's next?
And the other thing here is important, which is find out what they're interested in, particularly if they say no to the research and they're in keep in touch. Read their posts. Find other ways to connect with them, not to pester, but to show common interest.
I like that. Okay, who do we know that can connect you? Who do you know that can connect you with them? Who might you know that they wish to be connected to? So we don't have anyone in mind specifically, so I think we can skip this question for now, right?
We can come back to it, but we should put part of our plan is to start with who we know. And so that needs to be in the plan. So the strategy is a strategy of expansion. And the beginning is starting we've been around a while, and we're not starting from scratch. So looking at who we know. And I think we can come back to a valuable connection, with one exception I think should go in here, which is which is we need a couple early adapters, and that might apply to the one above. Start with people we know, have them take the research and have them jot a note saying, I found just even thinking about my tension to be helpful. And we can use that to open the door when we say, why would I do a survey? Well, just even thinking about these.
That's a great point. Yeah. Yeah, and I think so that for our plan, you're right, because we don't want to do a broad solicitation, just like tossing it out to LinkedIn generally, right? As a post or anything like that. We want to be very intentional about who we start with.
Yes.
By reaching out to those in our connections, not blasting it out to just try to find anyone. So I think, yeah, that gets us to our next steps.
So phase one is a small, targeted approach, beginning with people who already know us, like us, and trust us, and then getting feedback from them, and then going out another ring and out another ring. And maybe in the end, it's a blast because we'll have enough history to say, these people have participated and we need, but starting with very intentional, very targeted people who already like us and trust us to somebody who doesn't know us. Why should they like us and trust us?
Yeah. So that kind of tackles that question there.
This next one really hits me. With all of the initiatives we have going,
yes,
I think it's important not to answer this question now, but we need to begin with the things within our control, and that is blocking time, managing our agreements with each other. Because I can't even answer this question now, which means it's the right question. Right? I can't answer it because right now I'm energized by this, and I could easily say 20 hours a week, but that's not realistic. That's just because right now I'm saying, this is great that we're doing this. I'm just high as a kite.
Right.
And I've done that with old-fashioned networking too. When I hadn't gone to this and I said, well, I'm going to go to 20 events in the next, and it's not realistic. It's out of inspiration that it came.
Yes.
So I think we should highlight.
I come from the other direction because yes, I'm energized by the research project. And also I have in the back of my mind all the other things that are going on. And so I feel like if I were to answer the question, it wouldn't be nearly as much time as I want to put into it, or as I know I should put into it for us to be successful.
Isn't this powerful?
Yeah.
You and I are wired differently there.
Yeah.
And we would start at a different place.
Yeah, it feels overwhelming to me at first, and you just want to go.
I just want to go and just drop everything and do it, which would be a disaster. And then I wouldn't manage my agreements because I would tell you I'm going to do all this stuff and not do it. So I think what needs to go into our strategy and then into the plan is to come to a starting point and manage that perfectly, then come up for air maybe after 2 weeks and see how it needs to be adjusted and test it, because we don't know. We do know that our networking ideal people, they're overwhelmed like we are.
Yeah, right.
And this will seem like just another thing.
Right.
And for you and I, when we zoom out, it seems like a real differentiator, serve our client, lead to business opportunities, personal opportunities. We get it, we agree. But when it comes to the doing, we've never done this before. The reason we're sitting here going through the networking guide is we don't
know where to start.
Yeah, we don't know where to start, how much. So how much time is essential? And it's not something you answer because you have this much space, because we have to tell the truth. So the truth right now, and we'll come back to it, and anybody in the community that wants to know, they can say, where did you land on this? But the truth is we need to agree to something and manage that something and then build from there.
And I'm reminded of your guidance of start small. It's okay to start small.
keep moving,
but keep moving.
and pay attention to what comes up. That's my momentum process.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I just think that we need to be vulnerable enough to say, we have been excited about this for 2 months, done nothing. And it's because the something was too big for now. And
Yeah,
now I know a year will go by and the something will be too big unless we start. And
yeah,
we've agreed to start, and this is the starting point.
yeah. That's great.
That's powerful. Well, I think we just mentioned a lot of the stuff
I
that
think we
scares us.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's
It's
scare them.
time, it's energy. Some people don't say yes. That's reality. We love everyone to say yes. Yeah, I think we know what scares us.
Yep.
What energizes you about this?
Yeah.
Using a networking approach to finding research.
Yeah, what energizes me about networking? I think, I'm always energized when I get to meet new people and experience probably some of similar challenges, but in different nuances. And so I'm excited to learn more from the leaders that we do the research with. And I take all that in, right? That's different industries, it's different styles, and I'm always kind of collating all of that in my mind, and I use that in the other work that I do. So I'm just excited about that.
Yeah, I agree with you. The energizing part is recognizing that Diamond Mine Enterprises wouldn't have survived COVID when all the classroom training went away. And I don't need to tell the whole story, but I had a few connections that
Yeah.
valued me and what I do
Yeah.
enough to keep in the game. And the world has changed, and I need some new connections.
Yeah.
And I need to come from it with, I have something to give. We have something to give because you're part of this networking plan, and believe that the right people will connect. And that brings a whole new energy to Diamond Mine and the leadership beyond.
Great. How do you get in your own way when it comes to consistent networking? Ooh, well, I get distracted. I let time.
I interrupted you and I apologize, but I think it's a good way to do. I think it would be good to talk about, Adrian, how do you get in your way?
Yeah.
And Tom, how do you get in your way? And then, since we've been working together for quite some time, we have a we version of that.
We do.
Transcends, but includes our individual.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Let's start with Adrian.
I procrastinate. That's how I get in my own way. I'll procrastinate. There'll be networking things that I want to get to. And we're seeing this with our research work, right? And then the time just expires and missed that one. So, okay, next one. I think that's how I get in my own way.
And I get in my own way because I tend to work in surges. My biggest thing to work on is consistency. And I get inspired and do too much, and then something else suffers, and then I do none. Yeah. And that came up on the question before, but I'm putting it here because I'm not going to let that happen. You will hold me accountable. Is not just to give it more attention than it deserves in the short run in order to give it no attention.
Yeah.
I want to become a finisher in a world of starters. That's how I get my way.
That's well said. And I think that's our we challenge too, right? We can go squirrely, and we can come up with new ideas and then go down those roads instead of finishing something that we've started.
And I think that is the we, and I would like to add another we, and now I have my leadership beyond, which is that we have a lot of big ideas that we don't get to because they're too big, and we don't get started on them. So this is an opportunity to bring something big that we've had in mind into the runway in a manageable way. And we have success there with the podcast and the blog, because what we did there was we brought what we could chew. And at first it was just an hour a week. Remember when we had the lunch? And we learned, and with the help of Dana and Katya and some others to make sure the runway didn't take us over. But there's probably 5 big ideas, and we don't need 5 now. We're just going to start here with the research that won't get any attention because there'll never come a time where we have enough bandwidth to tackle.
Right,
But we could do something to bring them forward. So I think that's the we. We are ones that love lots of big ideas. And we have enough on our plate that we can't have 20 big ideas at once. We can move some things forward.
Chip away.
Well, measuring success, I think the very first plan should include some early wins and some benchmarks. I don't think for this general recording, we want to get into metrics, but I do want to say, Adrian, we must establish metrics.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. That's the only way we'll know if something is working or needs to shift, right? Keep doing it. When we come back and evaluate the start, stop, or continue, this is how we do it,
Yeah. So maybe we put a date to it to say we'll have some early metrics within the next 2 weeks. We hold it accountable. And I think it's important to address both quantity and quality. Some people say it's just a numbers game. No, it's not just a numbers game when you deal with people, but it is a numbers game. And we need some boxes that only a yes or no fits in, not a story. And the qualitative is a story, but we need some story too.
Right. Some anecdotal. Yep. So that took us through all of our questions.
I think we covered it.
Nice. Good.
Well, we have our work cut out to us, but now we have a framework.
We've got a nice start, and then we'll go back through those questions and use that to fill in our plan.
This was a great idea. Thank you, Adrian.
Yeah, this was great. Well done.
Thank you for listening to the Leadership Beyond podcast. We hope you benefited from this conversation as much as we have. We invite you to join our community of conversation. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to sign up at aleadershipbeyond.com for free materials and updates. That's aleadershipbeyond.com. Join us in 2 weeks for our next episode.